Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue, I'm Eric. Today I'm ranking every Six Flags park except Mexico once again, but this time not based on their rides, entirely based on their appearance. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel so you know when new theme park content comes out. I do much more than rankings, I do reviews, and tons of content both serious and funny. Now one thing I must make clear, appearance is going to be based on when you're walking around the park, enjoying the sights. Is it appealing roller coasters? Does it seem like it was well laid out and not just thrown together? Is the park fairly well kept? Is the theming good? All things that go into appearance as a whole. It's entirely a visual aspect for the most part, though I guess atmosphere kinda kicks in a little bit. And also, most of these parks are very close in this regard, so it was a tough ranking. But let's begin. Number 14 is Six Flags America. The worst looking one, it's not hideous. It's not really bad, honestly. There is a lot to enjoy. I like the front entrance plaza, it's quaint, but it's charming. I would say some of the roller coasters are nice to look at. Particularly, I think Joker's Jinx is pretty decent, and the wooden coasters are nice. Firebird is a good paint job as well. There is plenty I like. The big issues for me are the fact that the DC area is its own thing because it was an expansion sort of, and it just doesn't feel right to walk into that different area. And that area looks a lot more thrown together. Superman Ride of Steel, the fact that you can only see like 2 hills is a bit unfortunate, because being able to see the imposing ride in its full glory can really make an area like that a lot better. So it's not an awful park, but the big issue is the walk to Batwing. We've talked about it before, you know it's not great. I'm gonna pretty much leave it at that. It's not a super nice park to look at, but it's not awful. It's one where you're definitely going to be going for the rides more than walking around, but I guess the same can be said for most parks in this list. Number 13 is Six Flags Over Georgia. What a tough one. It's built on a hill, but you would not be able to tell that by walking around, with the exception of the crazy elevation changes at certain points. It doesn't look like it's on a hill. The park doesn't look great. There is stuff I enjoy. I think the Superman area, while a bit thrown together, looks very nice. I love the appearance of Goliath. Twisted Cyclone is decent. The train running through is nice. A few rides look good, but most of the buildings are really awful to look at. Just ugly. The park's bad layout does mean it just seems a bit thrown together. Walking past the Dahlonega mine train is kind of cool. I like the way that one path over the sort of foresty pit, as I'm going to call it, looks. But this park is one of the least memorable in terms of appearance. Kind of saved by the massive Goliath going through the park. It's beautiful. That one is a huge standout. I do like the Great American Scream Machine area as well, though it's kind of a little like Batwing in the one regard. So this park is definitely not one where I think, wow, I want to get so much footage here. And that's why I kind of have less footage than most parks. Number 12 is Six Flags St. Louis. A similar story to Over Georgia, except this one's on a hill and it actually feels like it. You can see the hill. It's beautiful. I really like the atmosphere of this park, for the most part. In terms of roller coaster appearance, the wooden coasters are kind of in their own in the back areas that are hard to see, but they're fine. Mr. Freeze has not aged super well in terms of appearance, and they could use some new paint. Their Batman the Ride clone looks pretty awesome, but that's also the biggest issue at the park. The Movie Town area where Batman is so thrown together, and it's probably the worst looking area in any Six Flags park. And that's kind of a huge knock against this one. So while it's not a bad one per se, that one area does bring it down and kind of takes away from the very nice foresty atmosphere the rest of the park kind of has. Number 11 is Darien Lake. Darien Lake is an interesting one because it has no DC characters. And what a nice thing that is. That way you don't have DC scattered around every part of the park, somewhat messing with cohesion, and that's something that kind of happens in all of the others. There are a few exceptions to that, and I'll get to that later. Darien Lake has the plus of lakes. The lakes look stunning. They are gorgeous. Going over the lake on Superman, I like that. The one in the back with Moto Coaster is nice. The roller coasters here look pretty good too. Tantrum, while definitely small, has nice colors. You can enjoy Ride of Steel a lot more than Superman Ride of Steel for appearance. Predator has a grand and awesome structure. And most of the stuff looks good. The issue is how spread out some rides are and how clumped together others are. and there's definitely not as much of note here, so it's kind of unspectacular compared to most others, but still, not bad. Number 10 is The Great Escape. No DC here, a few charming but ultimately somewhat unappealing fairy tale structures are a main feature here. I'll give credit, the forested setting in a lot of areas is nice, but that whole idea of the forested setting is kind of ruined by a few areas just looking so bizarre in comparison. The walk to Comet brings you to a completely dead area of the park that has one ride in front of Comet and then the Great Wooden Coaster itself. I don't love the way that area looks. I feel like the closed alpine bobsled is not nice to look at. And this park, while I went on a busy day, I imagine if you went on a very quiet day, it would not feel quiet, it would feel dead. And that's not a good thing for a park. The setting is good, some of the theming is nice, most of the theming I don't love, and the way a lot of it looks, it's not great. And it's definitely not one where I'm going to go out of my way to try to film as much as I can. It's just not the best. Number 9 is Six Flags Great Adventure. A very different one. Probably one of the biggest jumps on this list because Great Adventure has some beautiful areas. I love the way King of Ka and El Toro look. That iconic shot in front of the lake is one of the best in any Six Flags park. The DC area, thanks to the new Medusa change, is among the more cohesive, and you have to give some credit there. Most of the DC stuff is in the same area. Most rides look good here. I love Jersey Devil's appearance. The little area they put there, it's nice. I think Movie Town looks pretty great. Golden Kingdom is a spectacular area to walk. But at the same time, so many rides here could use new paints. They did improve Batman the Ride. That is the best looking Batman clone by far now. Joker in the middle is a little weird and not really the best centerpiece for a park. I think Nitro is among the most poorly aged paint jobs and they could kind of use a redo. And it's probably my least favorite of the B&M hypers to look at in any park, not just Six Flags. But there's a lot to enjoy here. The grand rides, the really big ones, El Toro, King of Ka, those are the standouts. I like the way some look, but there is a lot that could be done here. But hey, at least we have nice new Medusa colors, some animals, plenty to enjoy here. It's still not one of the best. Number 8 is Six Flags Magic Mountain. The undisputed king of Six Flags parks, right? Well, not for appearance. This one is unfortunately held back by a few things. I'll give some credit first. Some rides here look awesome. Tatsu, even with new colors, is a marvel to look at. The way it weaves around the terrain, spectacular. So many rides here look good. I love the way X2, Full Throttle, West Coast Racers, Riddler's Revenge, Batman the Ride, a lot of it looks awesome. I don't like the way Wonder Woman Flight of Courage was put in, it seems a little cramped in that area now. I do not like the way Superman fits into the park, it's just not as appealing to look at. Even with the grand size, it doesn't have the same awe-inspiring energy as King of Ka. Instead, it just seems like a bit of an eyesore. And an ear sore as well, you know exactly what I mean. The way the park is, some stuff is just really packed together, and then you may have long stretches of nothing. And it does happen to have, well, a good circular layout, a terrain that makes for a wonderful setting. The setting is possibly the best thing here. I like the mountains surrounding it. There are better mountains in other Six Flags parks for sure. This one's setting is probably top 5 though. The big issue though is just what I was mentioning with it's thrown together. It's like Cedar Point but without a good skyline. And I know that sounds a little mean, but Magic Mountain still is a nice park. I love getting footage of a lot of rides here. It is among the better looking ones. Except not really because I put it in the bottom half. But it's a good to look at park, but less noteworthy than the others for the positive stuff, but still pretty noteworthy on the negative side. Number 7 is Six Flags New England. New England has one major strength. Superman the Ride. One of the most beautiful and well put together roller coasters in history. It has the grand lift hill of Ride of Steel, but you can walk nearby the Twister section of the second half. It is large, kind of in its own area, in a way that doesn't feel weird and secluded. It feels like a natural part of the park, and I love it. Now, it has a similar layout to Great Adventure, smaller, but it kind of splits from left to right, and it's not a huge circle. And in a way, yes, some areas may seem crammed, but I think it's spread out enough that most stuff looks pretty good here. I will say the Frisbee, Harley Quinn kind of being in the middle of a bunch of DC roller coasters is a little weird, but it can make for some pretty good shots. Not to mention the other side, where you have the Skyscreamer and Wicked Cyclone. There's a lot I like about that area. It's pretty appealing. There's not a single bad looking roller coaster here with the exception of Gotham City Gauntlet, which is an absolute abomination to man. I like the way this park looks a lot, not to mention a setting on the Connecticut River. It's a bit more quaint than some of the other parks, but still a very appealing one. Number 6 is Six Flags Over Texas. I consider putting this one a bit higher. It has a pretty cohesive idea for one half of the park. Six Flags Over Texas. The 6 nations that have had a flag over the state, all with their own themed area. Some of these look great. I really like the Spain area. The France one is pretty well done and has a lot of little details in there. Most of the rides in those areas look good. New Texas Giant is good, Titan is grand, not the best colors but still a very nice coaster to look at. And there's a lot I enjoy in these areas of the park. Not to mention the DC area is all kind of its own thing, so it's not mixing in with the other good stuff. And it looks good. Pandemonium is great colors, Mr. Freeze was repainted as an absolutely beautiful ride. Aquaman Power Wave is absolutely tanking, pun not intended, that area. And there is stuff I enjoy in it, even if I think the DC area is a bit too expansive. Too much going on. I'll say the Oil Derrick is not the most appealing centerpiece either. It's good, but it's no Eiffel Tower, if you know what I'm saying. I'm referring to Kings Island, by the way. And Over Texas has one other flaw, and that's the fact that Judge Roy's Scream is under the road. You have to take a path to a different area, and it's not even really in the park. And you're not going to get great shots of Judge Roy's Scream in the park either. Not to mention, a few rides are just kind of out in the random area with Joker. So I guess the very far right part of the park doesn't look the best. But I like the pretty good theming in the main Six Flags parts, and the DC parts are among the better ones in the Six Flags chain. Number 5 is Frontier City. This is the least Six Flags of the Six Flags parks. It has very few advertisements, and it has some great looking stuff. You won't see too much of Wildcat. What you can see is very nice. Silver Bullet looks good. Diamondback a little weird. I think some of the new rides have really good colors to them, and I think they're pretty vibrant and nice to look at. The layout is really good, and the way some of the rides work with each other, like a train and stagecoach ride, it feels like the kind of thing you'd expect at a Disney park, on a smaller scale. This one is kind of like Great Escape, but it looks much nicer. The Western theme just works a lot better and is easier to make good for me. I am kind of a sucker for that Western frontier type theme though, and I love the way some stuff looks. The facade for Quick Draw is awesome. Some of the rock work in general, while not the best, shows clear effort, and it looks nice. I enjoy getting footage here, and I probably got more footage here than some of those Six Flags parks that have twice as many roller coasters, and thus a lot more to see. And that kind of speaks volumes about how good Frontier City's appearance really is. Number 4 is La Ronde. Yes, I knew I was going to upset someone with having La Ronde so high on any list, and I don't know who I'm talking to, but I'm sure someone behind their screen is mad. But La Ronde is a absolutely beautiful park. It's a big jump from Frontier City, honestly, and it's one of the best things about it. It is not highly themed. In terms of theming, you are limited to the medieval area, which while somewhat minimalistic, is great, and it works well. The roller coasters are a mixed bag. Boomerang looks great, Vampire looks pretty good, Goliath is a bit faded but one of the better looking of the B&M Hypers, if you count it as a hyper in this case. Ednor has a great setting, but his colors are also getting more faded. The building for Dragon is not excellent. All of the flat rides look awesome. Walking by Demon or Titan, they are the pretty much best placed flat rides, and honestly, this park does not feel thrown together. The rides are well spaced apart, and I feel like it's one of the best realized of any Six Flags park in terms of ride placement. All of the rides are nice to look at outside of the roller coasters, which there are a few I mentioned, but what's most important here is the setting. This is on an island. You have Montreal on one side, You have a lake in the middle of the island, many rides built around the lake. There are several rides where you can get wonderful views of this lake and the surrounding area. Obviously, you have one issue: the observation tower is closed. But fortunately, a sky screamer, drop tower, and Ferris wheel are all there for you. Not to mention a few roller coasters. I also should mention that Le Mans is an absolutely stellar wooden coaster. In terms of appearance, I love looking at it. It is one of my favorite wooden coaster structures. It is grand, but still somewhat compact in a way that you can easily get footage of it. I like the way it looks a lot, and if it's RMC'd, I hope it keeps the same way. So overall, La Ronde is a beautiful park. I love looking at this one. The lake is a fantastic center area. Some of the unique art things they have there are great. La Ronde is just a nice one to look at. Visually appealing, and that's one of the best things about it. Number 3 is Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. Discovery Kingdom, I think, gets points for its back half. Some say the back half feels dead, but I disagree. I like the animal exhibits a lot in this one. You have the giraffes right along a sort of river. I like the waterfront area of this park a lot walking around. The butterfly garden is the number one thing here for the animal side. It is serene, and it is a very nice one. I adore walking around here, and even though it's not a big thrilling roller coaster, it's one of my favorite things to do in the park. Then you have lions, tigers, bears, oh my, I don't think they have bears actually, but you get what I'm saying. Shark encounter is nice. A kids area that's actually one of the better realized ones. Sidewinder Safari looks pretty good. All the roller coasters, with the exception of Kong actually, look great. The colors on Superman Ultimate Flight and Batman the Ride are very awesome. Medusa's great. Joker is a phenomenal one. I love looking at all of those. The biggest issue with the park is the DC area. While it is one of the most colorful, vibrant, and well-realized ones in terms of what rides they have and it's enjoyable, it is very crammed together. Too much so by a little bit. And I think if they were able to space out Batman the Ride from Superman Ultimate Flight, from Joker, from Wonder Woman, a little more, this could be number 2. But we're gonna have to keep it here for now. Great animals, great setting for the animals, wonderful looking roller coasters and rides. It is hard to beat this one. Number 2 is Six Flags Great America. For appearance, this is the cedar point of the chain. Kind of mixed with La Ronde being the cedar point of the chain, I guess, because of the location. But this one's skyline is by far the best. No other one competes. Every roller coaster here looks awesome. Raging Bull's colors, even while faded, look immaculate. Max Force has so many great shots you can get. All the wooden coasters are grand and wonderful. Little Dipper's small, but it's nice. Goliath has some of the most beautiful and photogenic elements, period. All of the DC rides look awesome. I think there's so much to enjoy about the appearance here. There's so many more rides I could talk about. It's spread out in a way that makes it the best layout of any park. There are so many areas where you can be on the opposite side of the park. You can look at X-Flight, Raging Bull, Demon, American Eagle all at the same time, get them all in one shot, and it's stunning. This is the best layout for getting footage and enjoying the scenery. The one knock against this one, outside of weaker theming with the exception of the very nice Frontier and Mardi Gras areas, is the fact that Superman and Dark Knight Coaster are in the Mardi Gras area. That does not really work, and unfortunately the DC thing holds it back a little bit. But it is still a beautiful park. While not highly themed, it has very nice looking roller coasters, and for me, a beautiful roller coaster can be just as good as beautiful theming in many cases. But not in this case, because number 1 is Six Flags Fiesta Texas. In terms of roller coasters, Iron Rattler has the great Quarry setting, Roadrunner Express the same, Superman Krypton Coaster has iconic moments on it, Batman the Ride looks pretty great, I like the new Poltergeist colors, and Wonder Woman Golden Lasso Coaster similarly has a nice setting and appearance. Most of the roller coasters here look good, but that's not why this got number 1. This was an easy decision for number 1 because of the theming. This one was themed very highly before it became a Six Flags park. I've done a whole video on this. Every area looks wonderful. The entrance plaza is a beautiful love letter to Hispanic culture. Spasberg is a wonderful medieval one with a very grand castle. The DC area is mostly contained in one area and doesn't clash with the others. Rockville really does feel like a town from the 50s. Crack Axle Canyon is a nicely done, but not flawless, western area, but still on par with the Great America one, and that was the highlight of the theming there. And then the boardwalk area is honestly very accurate and insanely well done. So overall, Fiesta Texas, easily number one. Not much else to say. Definitely check out my full analysis video of it. And thank you for watching. Tell me which parks you think are the most beautiful in the Six Flags chain. Subscribe for more content. I'll see you next time.